Hi, we're the Psychic Twins.
I'm Terry.
And I'm Linda. Today we're going to talk about the San Luis Obispo Cal Poly murders that were back in the late 90s, and we were able to work on this case with a private investigator. As you know, we've been psychic detectives for years. We've worked on murder cases and missing persons cases since the 90s. And this is one of the cases that we actually have in incredible detail that we predicted, and we even did a drawing of the killer, and he was caught. Back in 1998, two young college students mysteriously vanished in San Luis Obispo, California. One of the missing was Rachel Newhouse. She was 20 years old and was a college student at Cal Poly. The second woman was Andrea Crawford, also 20 years old, and she was a student at Cuesta College. They just seemed to vanish into thin air, and this happened in 1998, and 2 years earlier there was another student that had gone missing in the area, but they didn't think it was connected necessarily to this case. So there were actually three missing co-eds, and that's why they called them the co-ed murders.
Well, we got a call one day shortly after these young women went missing. We got a call from a private investigator who wanted to bring us in on the case, and she was familiar with our work as psychic detectives, and she really wanted us to help to find these missing girls. So we agreed to work on the case for free. We didn't work directly with the police. So what we do is we work with automatic writing to really hone in on all the details that we get on the killer as well as the victims. And we try to get as much detail as we can in terms of what did he look like? What does, we describe the killer in detail. Where are the bodies found? These are the actual automatic writing that we did for that particular case. We try to bring in as much detail when we're doing channeled writing as we possibly can on, describing every detail that we can get on the killer and where his whereabouts, his vehicle, physical descriptions, if he's wearing disguises. We bring in details of the victims and where they went missing.
Where their bodies might be found.
Well, that's the main thing, is we do what's called remote viewing, but it's sort of our own form of remote viewing.
We work with maps, and these just a couple maps from the case that we sent to the private investigator.
So we work with maps, very detailed, and we circle locations where we think that the police should be looking and where exactly the bodies will be found.
Our hands tend to go toward like a hot area where it's almost as if our hands are guided to a place on the map where the bodies will be found, or where the killing happened, and where the killer may live now, or where he may have traveled to. And we've worked with maps for many years.
And often there's more than one killer. In this case, we only got that there would be one. And all of our details turned out to be correct, by the way. So we'll run through every single detail for you.
Back in the late 70s, early 80s, I actually did courtroom sketches for murder trials in the Philadelphia area, and my drawings were published in the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Bulletin. So what I did for this particular case was I drew my psychic impression. We call it channel drawing, and we talk about this in our book, Psychic Intelligence. And I did a channel drawing of what I thought the killer would look like. And this was given to the investigator just days before they found the bodies. We said he was balding, and we'll give some of the details. The mustache was very strong, resemblance to the mustache he had. And this is what he actually looked like. The killer actually looked like this. This is his mugshot when he was arrested for the murders and booked.
Now, in 1999, Rex Allen Krebs was arrested for the murders, and he turned out to be a serial rapist and murderer, just as we had said. So here are some of the details that we channeled about the killer. We both wrote the name David and Davis, and that turned out to be the name of the street that Rex Allen Krebs lived on, Davis Canyon Road. We also channeled the name Ray Allen, which is actually the name that he went by. It was kind of like a nickname that he was called, Ray Allen, and that turned out to be correct. We got his age exactly. We said he would be 33 years old. Sometimes that's tough because we might be in the ballpark with age, but we try not to get it exact.
We'll give it a
Just
time frame,
give
like
them-
31 to 33.
I mean, in this case, he looks much older than that age,
Yes.
so it was surprising that that was exactly right. And we also said he would be dark-haired with a dark mustache
Yes.
and tan skin, and he
Skin.
was.
Yes. We said that he was balding.
Right.
And at the time he wasn't totally bald, so that was correct. He shaved his head later. He was physically strong, very muscular, short, stocky, built like kind of a bull. And we channeled all of this information that he was also had a prior arrest as a sex offender. And that turned out to be the case because he had served 10 years of a 20-year sentence for a rape of someone back in the 80s, and he was released early. We also said that he was a laborer that worked in a yard. We kept writing yard and laborer, and it turned out he did work in a lumber yard near the killings.
We said that the two bodies of these two women would be buried in his yard, and we actually specifically said one body would be found on his property and the other would be nearby, and that turned out to be exactly right. They found one body on his property and the other not far away.
Yeah, he rented a house, and it was just a few yards from his house, right on his property.
And we said that he lived in a remote rural area, which he did, and that he had a knife and a gun, both of which he was found, when they searched his property, he had a knife and a gun.
Yeah, I believed he did kill them with a knife ultimately and strangled them. There was a lot of violence, so he did strangle them, and we told them they would be strangled and raped, and that's what had happened, violently raped. We said the bodies would be found within 2 weeks, and just 4 days later they were found, and this is what dumbfounded the police. They didn't think they'd be found for months, if at all, and we said no, they're going to be on his property or close to his property, and they'll be found very soon. In fact, they were found in shallow graves, as we mentioned, one on his property and one just a couple of blocks down the road. We said they were brutally raped and strangled, and both women were. In fact, they were hogtied and raped and then killed, probably by strangling or knife wounds. We mentioned bar, and Rachel Newhouse had left a bar when he encountered her on a bridge. We also said bridge, and those are the details we gave the police. And he encountered her, he kind of followed her with his car, and he sort of ambushed her just as she was crossing the bridge to the stairs.
Yeah.
He went up the stairs with a Halloween mask on, which, talk about your creepy clown killers. He had a Halloween mask on that must have been frightening to see. And then he dragged her by her hair down the stairs and brought her to an abandoned A-frame where I think he did some horrible things to her, and then later buried her body right on his property. We said train station would be important and somehow figure in the case. We kept writing train station, and sure enough, Rachel was assaulted near the downtown train station.
Well, both bodies, as we said, were found 4 days later after we had sent the investigator all of these details. We even said that he would have a pickup truck, which he did. That was his vehicle, was a pickup
He had
truck.
recently gotten a brand new pickup truck. Looking back 20 years, it's kind of surreal because now we're seeing details online that we did not even know. At the time, nobody had that much access to internet. These clues were not widely published. They weren't even published at all by the police because, again, they had just gone missing. Books have been written since about the case. There have been some TV shows that have covered it, but not that much. We wish we could say that the full name of the private eye, because you might say, oh, well, did they really work with this person? But we did, and we actually sent her a lot of information by fax, because that's what we had back then, is fax machines.
Now, in May of 2001, Rex Allen Krebs was sentenced to death for both murders of these women, and he now sits on death row in San Quentin prison. Our hearts go out to the victims and to their families, and it's just a heartbreaking story. We wish we had more time to work on on murder cases. We really don't right now. People write us a lot to say, oh, please solve this murder case or that missing persons case. We just don't have the time right now to do a lot of that. But we appreciate your watching today, and we hope that you hit like, thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to make these videos for you.
And we'll see you in the future.